Most people think their problem is the bad habit. The drink, the food, the phone, the cigarette. They think if they could just stop doing that one thing, everything would change. They are wrong. And that mistake is exactly why they fail. Every time, for years, for decades, for their entire lives. The real problem is never the habit. The habit is just the symptom. The real problem is the identity you built around it. You're not a person who drinks too much. You're a person who became someone who drinks too much. And there is a catastrophic difference between those two sentences. Today, I'm going to show you the Japanese system that understands this difference at a level that Western medicine has never even attempted to reach. A system so precise and so brutally simple that the first time you hear it, you will think it cannot possibly work. And then it will work. But I need to tell you something before we begin. This video contains a principle at the halfway point that most people in this niche have never talked about. A fourth element of the Japanese philosophy system that was deliberately left out of every productivity book ever written in the West. Stay until you hear it, because without it, the rest of the system collapses. Subscribe now, hit the like button, and tell me in the comments. The one habit that has owned you for longer than you want to admit. Let's begin. His name was Daniel, 42 years old, warehouse operations manager. Not a bad man, not a lazy man. A man who had worked 60 hours a week for 15 years to give his family a life he never had. But Daniel had a body that was slowly shutting down and a mind that had accepted it as inevitable. He weighed 138 kilos. He hadn't seen his feet without effort in 3 years. Climbing one flight of stairs left him breathing, like he had just run a marathon. Tying his shoes was a 4-step operation. Sit down, lean forward, hold breath, strain everything. His diet was whatever was available and fast. Breakfast in the car, lunch at his desk, dinner in front of the TV because the table required. Conversation required energy he didn't have. Weekends were beer, pizza, and the couch. He had earned it. That was what he told himself. He worked like a machine. He deserved to rest like one. His body sent warnings for years. He ignored every single one because Daniel had tried to change before. For times he had joined a gym. For times he had lasted between 3 weeks and 2 months. He had tried low carb, keto, intermittent fasting. He had bought a treadmill that now lived under a pile of coats. He had downloaded 7 fitness apps. He still had 3 of them on his phone, unopened for 8 months. Every attempt ended the same way. Fire on Monday, negotiation by Wednesday, surrender by Friday. And after enough surrenders, something worse than failure sets in. Acceptance. That's just who I am. I've always been this way. It's genetics. It's metabolism. It's time. Daniel had arrived at the most dangerous place a human being can reach. Not the bottom you can climb out of. He had arrived at the place where he had stopped trying to climb. It was a Sunday afternoon in October. Daniel was in the backyard. His 9-year-old son, Jake, was kicking a ball around alone because Daniel was sitting in a plastic chair watching. Not playing, watching. The ball sailed over the fence and landed in the neighbor's garden. "Dad, can you get it?" Daniel stood up. He walked to the fence. He reached over and grabbed the ball. And when he tried to stand back up, he couldn't. Not because he was injured. Not because anything had snapped or torn. He simply did not have the strength in his legs to lift his own body weight from a bent position. He was on all fours in his neighbor's garden, sweating, straining, while his 9-year-old son watched in silence. The neighbor had to come outside and help him up. That night, Daniel sat on the edge of the bed and cried for the first time in 11 years. He cried because he was 42 years old and needed a stranger to help him stand. He cried because Jake had seen it. He cried because he understood with absolute clarity what memory he had just placed inside his son's mind. My father was weak. His wife came into the room. She didn't speak for a long time. She just sat beside him. Then she said 4 words. "You need help, Daniel. Not you should lose weight. Not you need to go to the gym. You need help." Because she understood something Daniel didn't yet. This was never about the weight. The following week, Daniel called Ryan, an old friend from college who 3 years ago had weighed nearly as much as Daniel and now looked like a completely different human being. Not just thinner, different, more present, more awake, more deliberate in everything he did. Ryan, I need to know what you did. Did you have surgery? Did you take something? Ryan was quiet for a moment. I want to see a doctor, but not the kind you're thinking of. He didn't give me anything. He took something away. What does that mean? Come with me on Thursday. The consultation room didn't look like any medical office Daniel had ever been in. No equipment, no posters, no clinical smell, just a wooden desk, 2 chairs, a window overlooking a garden, and a small scroll of Japanese calligraphy on the wall. Dr. Kinji Mori entered. Late 60s, slight build, movements so economical. They seemed rehearsed over decades. He didn't shake Daniel's hand immediately. He looked at him for a moment first, not at his body, at his eyes. Then he sat down and said, "Tell me what brought you here." Daniel told him everything. The wait, the exhaustion, the failed attempts, the flower bed. Jake watching. When he finished, Dr. Mori didn't open a laptop. He didn't reach for a prescription pad. He asked one question. How many times have you tried to change? Daniel thought. 4, maybe 5. And how long did each attempt last? A few weeks. 2 months at most. Dr. Mori nodded slowly. Do you know why it always ended? Daniel started the list. No time, stress, metabolism, genetics. Dr. Mori raised one hand. No, it ended because you were trying to win. A 40-year war in a 2-month battle. Your body spent 40 years building this. Your mind spent 40 years becoming someone for whom this was normal. And you believed you could dismantle all of it in 21 days. Silence. Daniel, I'm going to ask you to make one change today. A change so small you will think I am not serious. So small it will seem completely pointless. Do you trust me enough to try it anyway? Daniel had nothing left to lose. Yes. Good. Every morning when you wake up, before anything else, drink 1 glass of water. That is all. Daniel waited. Nothing else came. Just that. Just that. For 2 weeks. Nothing else changes. You can eat whatever you eat. Drink whatever you drink. Watch whatever you watch. Just add 1 glass of water every morning. Doctor, I need to lose 50 kilos. A glass of water is not going to do that. Dr. Mori leaned forward. You are correct. A glass of water will not lose you 50 kilos. But it will do something that 50 kilos of weight loss cannot do. It will prove to you that you can keep a promise to yourself. And right now, that proof is the only thing that matters. Because until you can trust yourself with something small, you will never trust yourself with something large. Daniel left the office confused and faintly embarrassed. He had paid for a consultation and been told to drink water. But something Dr. Mori had said would not leave him alone. A promise to yourself. How many promises had he broken? How many Monday mornings had he sworn to change? And by Thursday had already surrendered. If he could not trust himself with a glass of water, what could he trust himself with? That night he filled a glass and placed it on his bedside table. The next morning the alarm rang at 5. He saw the glass. He drank it. Day 2, the same. Day 7, he woke up before the alarm. The first thought in his mind was not the time or the day. It was the glass. His brain had begun to expect it. On day 14, Daniel returned to Dr. Mori's office. Did you drink the water? Every day? Every day. How do you feel? Honestly, a little foolish. I didn't lose any weight, but I did something for 2 weeks straight. I actually did something. Dr. Mori smiled. The first time Daniel had seen him smile. You have just experienced the first principle of a system I'm going to teach you. It is called Kaizen. Continuous improvement through changes so small. They bypass the brain's resistance mechanism entirely. You did not try to climb a mountain. You took one step, and your brain accepted that step because it was too small to fight. Now it expects the step. Now the step is part of who you are. Daniel leaned forward. But one step doesn't climb a mountain. No, but one step repeated every day for a year covers ground that no sprint ever could. Dr. Mori pulled out a single sheet of paper. If you improve 1% per day for 1 year, you do not improve 365%. You improve 3,778% because improvement compounds, like interest in a bank, except the currency is identity. Daniel stared at that number. 3,778%. From 1% per day. Are you ready for the next step? Yes. Keep drinking water in the morning. Add one thing. When you sit down to eat any meal, put half of what you would normally put on your plate. Half. You can go back for more after 20 minutes, if you're still hungry. But first, half. Daniel almost laughed. This also seems too small. It is supposed to seem too small. That is precisely why it will work. The first week with half a plate was harder than the water. His body was accustomed to volume. His brain screamed at him after every meal. You're still hungry. There is more food 6 feet away. This is unnecessary suffering. But Dr. Mori had told him to wait 20 minutes. In 3 weeks of half plates, Daniel went back for seconds twice. Twice. Because he was not hungry. He was habitual. There is a principle in Okinawa called hara hachibu. Eat until you are 80% full. The logic is biological. Your stomach requires 20 minutes to signal your brain that it has received enough. If you eat at speed until the plate is empty, you have already consumed far past what your body needed before the signal ever arrives. You are not overeating because you are greedy. You are overeating because you are fast. At the end of his second month, Daniel had lost 6 kilos. During that month's consultation, Dr. Mori asked one question that Daniel was not prepared for. Why are you doing this? To lose weight. To be healthier. No. Why are you really doing this? What is underneath the weight loss? What is the actual reason? Daniel sat with that question longer than he expected to. He thought about Jake watching him on all fours in the garden. He thought about Lily, his 7-year-old daughter who had stopped asking him to play. Not because she was angry, because she had learned. She had learned that her father didn't play. And that knowledge, the moment a child stops asking, is the most devastating thing a parent can witness. I want to be there, Daniel said finally. Not just physically. I want to be present. I want to walk Lily down the aisle someday. I want Jake to remember a father who showed up. I want my wife to have the man she married back. Not his body, his presence. Dr. Mori was quiet for a moment. That is your Ikigai, your reason for being. Your purpose is not to lose weight. Weight is simply the obstacle between you and your purpose. And purpose is not motivation. Motivation is a feeling. Feelings come and go. Purpose is a direction. And a man with a direction cannot be stopped by a feeling of tiredness or a moment of weakness. Because when Daniel didn't want to wake up, he no longer thought about water or half plates. He thought about Lily's hand in his. He thought about Jake. And purpose, unlike motivation, does not expire. Stop. Before we continue with Daniel's story, I need to tell you something that most people teaching Japanese philosophy will never tell you, because it makes the system harder to sell. There's a fourth principle in this system, one that comes before Kaizen, before Ikigai, before everything. And without it, none of the other principles work. Not one. The Japanese call it Jiko Ninshiki, self-recognition, not self-improvement, not self-discipline. Self-recognition, the ability to look at yourself without the story, without the excuses, without the identity you built to survive your own failures. Most people never do this. They know they have a problem, but they have spent so many years explaining the problem that they have confused the explanation with the truth. I am this way because of my childhood. I am this way because of my genetics. I am this way because of stress, time, circumstance. These explanations are not lies. But they are armor, an armor that was built to protect you, eventually becomes the prison that contains you. Jiko Ninshiki requires you to remove the armor completely, to stand in front of yourself with nothing. No story, no excuse, no reason, just the raw fact of what is true right now. Daniel did this on the edge of his bed the night after the flower bed. He didn't know it had a name. He didn't know it was the gateway to an 800-year-old system. He just sat there and for the first time in years, looked at his life without explaining it. And what he saw was not a man with bad genetics, not a man without time, not a man with a slow metabolism. He saw a man who had been making the same choice every single day for 15 years and calling it circumstances. That moment of recognition, not shame, not guilt, just clarity. That was the real beginning. Everything Dr. Mori taught him after that worked. Because Daniel had already done the hardest thing. He had seen himself clearly. Most people never reach Kaizen because they never reach Jiko Ninshiki. They try to improve a version of themselves. they have never honestly looked at. And you cannot improve what you refuse to see. Now you know what the productivity books left out. Let's return to Daniel. 3 months in, Daniel had lost 13 kilos. His clothes were loose. Co-workers asked questions. He felt something he hadn't felt in years. Forward momentum. Then came Christmas. The table was enormous. Every food he had grown up with. Every comfort he had used as reward for 15 years of work. His mother loaded his plate before he could say anything. His brother-in-law raised a glass. Come on, Daniel. One day won't kill you. Social pressure is invisible until it has already worked. By the time you notice it, you have already surrendered. Daniel surrendered. He ate past full. He drank past comfortable. He went to bed that night with the particular shame of a man who knows exactly what he did and why. The next morning, he did not want to get up. He did not want the water. He did not want the walk he had added 3 weeks earlier. The old voice was back. You broke it. You always break it. This is who you are. You proved it again, just like every other time. He picked up his phone and sent Dr. Mori a message. I ate everything yesterday. I ruined it. I don't think I can continue. The reply came within minutes. Come in this afternoon. Daniel sat in the familiar chair, expecting disappointment. Dr. Mori entered and sat down. Did you drink water this morning? Yes. Did you walk? Yes. Then you did not fail. You stumbled. There is a difference between stumbling and stopping that most people in this culture never learn. When you stumble, you lose balance for a moment. When you stop, you end movement completely. You lost balance yesterday. You're still moving today. Dr. Mori leaned forward. I want to teach you about Wabi Sabi. It is a Japanese philosophy that does not translate easily into Western language because Western culture has no real framework for what it describes. Wabi Sabi is the acceptance of imperfection, not as a failure of the ideal, but as the nature of all things that are real. Nothing permanent, nothing perfect, nothing complete. And in that impermanence and imperfection exists the only kind of beauty that actually lasts. One bad day does not erase 13 kilos. It does not erase 3 months of mornings. It does not erase the walks with Lily. It does not erase the version of yourself you have been building. An imperfect day is not a contradiction of the journey. It is proof that the journey is real, because only real things are imperfect. Fantasies are perfect. Reality is not. Daniel felt something shift in his chest. Not relief exactly. Something more structural than relief. Like a wall he had been pushing against his entire life had simply ceased to exist. But what if it happens again, he asked. It will happen again, Dr. Mori said. Multiple times. And every time it does, you will wake up the next morning and drink the water. Not because you feel like it, because that is who you are now. In the months that followed, Daniel stumbled many times. A stressful week at work broke his eating twice. A weekend away with old friends broke his sleep routine. A fight with his wife broke his morning walk for 3 days. But something had fundamentally changed in the mechanism of recovery. Before Dr. Mori, a single break meant the end. One bad day became one bad week, became one bad month. Became I'll start again in January. Now a break meant one day. Maximum 2, because his brain had accumulated enough evidence of return that return had become the default. Not perfection, return. Dr. Mori called this Gambaru, endurance, perseverance. Not the dramatic endurance of someone gritting their teeth through extraordinary suffering. The quiet endurance of someone who simply does not stop, who does the minimum on the hard days. Because something is always better than nothing. And nothing is the only thing that truly breaks a chain. A Japanese researcher studying endurance athletes discovered something that contradicts everything Western sports psychology teaches about peak performance. The athletes who lasted longest were not the ones with the highest pain tolerance. They were the ones with the smallest definition of failure. If your definition of failure is missing a day, you will fail constantly and recover slowly. If your definition of failure is stopping permanently, you will almost never fail, because stumbling is not stopping. Stumbling is just how walking looks on difficult terrain. By month 6, Daniel had lost 24 kilos, but the number had become almost irrelevant, because the morning Lily knocked on his bedroom door and asked if she could walk with him. And he said yes without hesitation and without exhaustion. That moment contained more than any number on a scale ever could. They walked for 40 minutes that morning. She talked about school, about her best friend, about a book she was reading, things she had stopped telling him 2 years ago, because he had always been too tired to listen. When they got home, she asked, "Can we do this every day?" And Daniel said yes, not as a promise to himself, as a fact about who he was. 9 months after the flower bed, Daniel had lost 38 kilos. He was no longer walking 40 minutes. He was running 3 times a week, not because anyone told him to, because his body had remembered that it was built to move, and was now asking for it. During that month's consultation, Dr. Mori asked, "When was the last time you thought about giving up?" Daniel tried to remember. Last month? The month before? He genuinely could not place it. "I don't know. It's been a while." "Do you understand why?" Daniel shook his head. "Because you stopped trying to change and started living differently. The system is no longer effort. It is identity. You are no longer a man who is trying to be healthier. You are a man who takes care of himself. And that is the only transformation that is permanent. Because behavior follows identity. Always. If you believe you're someone who struggles with discipline, you will struggle with discipline, regardless of how many systems you implement. If you believe you are someone who takes care of himself, discipline stops being a struggle. It becomes an expression of who you already are. Dr. Mori drew 5 circles on a piece of paper. Jiko Ninshiki. See yourself clearly without the story. Ikigai. Know why you're doing this at the deepest level. Kaizen. Improve 1%. Every day, without exception. Hara Hachibu. Stop before you are full. In everything. Wabi Sabi. Accept imperfection as the texture of real change. Gambaru. Endure. Not dramatically, quietly, permanently. These 6 principles are not a weight loss system. They are not a productivity system. They are not a habit system. They are a framework for becoming someone different. And the difference between someone different and someone improved is the difference between permanent and temporary. Improvement can be undone. Identity cannot. 18 months after the flower bed, Daniel had lost 49 kilos. He weighed 91 kilos. He was not a fitness model. He still had loose skin in places. He still had days when the old voice came back. But the old voice no longer had authority. It had become background noise. The kind you hear but no longer respond to. Because here is what nobody tells you about the end of a real transformation. It does not feel like victory. It does not feel like arrival. It feels like normalcy. Like this is simply who you are. And that normalcy is the most radical thing a human being can achieve. Because it means the war is over. Not because you won. Because you stopped being someone who needed to fight. His daughter Lily is 9 years old now. She told her friend at school last month, "My father is the most disciplined person I know." She said this about a man who started with a glass of water. She said this about a man who cried on the edge of a bed because a neighbor had to help him stand. She said this because she grew up watching him not be perfect. She grew up watching him stumble and return, stumble and return, stumble and return. And she learned something that no school will ever teach her. That strength is not the absence of falling. Strength is the refusal to stay down. Now here is the revelation. The thing that Dr. Mori said in their final consultation, that Daniel almost did not hear because it came quietly at the end of a long conversation. "Daniel, you never had a weight problem." "What do you mean?" "Your weight was never the problem. Your weight was the answer." "The answer to what?" "To the question your body was asking every single day. For 15 years, is anyone taking care of me?" And every day that you didn't, your body answered for you. With weight, with exhaustion, with shutdown. Not as punishment, as compensation. Your body was trying to carry what your mind refused to hold. Read that again. Your body was carrying what your mind refused to hold. Every bad habit you have ever had was never a failure of discipline. It was your body's answer to a question. Your mind was too afraid to ask, "Am I worth taking care of?" And the moment Daniel started drinking that glass of water, he wasn't changing a habit. He was answering that question. Yes, you're worth it. One glass at a time, one walk at a time, one return morning at a time. That is the real system. Not Kaizen, not Ikigai, not Gambaru. The decision to answer yes to the question your body has been asking your entire life. Everything else is just the method. The answer has always been yours to give. If this reached something inside you, subscribe now and activate the bell. And leave one comment below. Not your transformation plan, not your goals. Just answer the question your body has been asking. Are you worth taking care of? Right? Yes. That is your first step. That is your glass of water. See you in the next video.